this goes up, it attaches up here to the aluminum, like that. And see, the white discs have little screw holes in them. What if the screws don't have wood to bite into? And they make something called a nut zurich or something. It's some kind of, it's like a pop rivet, but it allows you to thread a screw into it. And those are okay. Triangular piece of wood in the corner, so that when I run some screws up, at least there'll be at least one, actually probably all of them, but in worst case scenario there'll be at least one screw on each side that'll bite into wood, and then the others I can use the nut zurich or nut, I don't know what they call it, but it's something nut something. So it's like it's half the thickness of the floor, and you can see that I bent a steel brace and just braced it, so the insulation will still, the fiberglass will still be able to compress a little bit, because I'm only using up half the thickness of the skeleton. So anyway, and there's two similar ones right in the floor here underneath this sheet I put in yesterday, and they're to support some electrical boxes underneath the trailer. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to put the fiberglass insulation down and go ahead and put this sheet in so I can wrap this project up. Now we're going to go ahead and put the sheet in, the plywood. So I've got it all insulated with the fiberglass insulation, and you can see the shim spacer between the floor right there. So a lot of duct tape, but when it gets compressed I don't want it to slide out, so the duct tape was important. And there's the other shim for the access hole. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and put the sheet in, and then it'll be, all the hard work will be done. I think hard work. I hope there's not any more. I'm getting really burnt out on this project. I'm just glad to wrap it up. The last one you saw was the middle section board plywood in, and then the back was just the insulation. So it's been it's been about 2 weeks, week and a half since I put that sheet in. So here we go. So there's the back piece, and you can see in those 2 weeks that I've done some electrical installation. So here was, there's the heater. The actual base of the heater's not in yet, but the top part is. So there's the plywood that you saw, and then where the shower pan and the electrical is, that was the last sheet that had to go in. So, and then I put some braces for the back, just temporary. So mostly what I've been working on is the electrical. Oh, and the holes lined up really well. You can see right in there. See, it lined up pretty darn good. And then the same thing with the shower tub too. So this is some of the electrical I've done. Oh, and I put the wheel wells in too, at least the sides. And they're covered with plastic, but you can see the half moon shape. And then there's the same back here, but the plastic's covering it, but you can see how it's arched. So I got that in, and this is the other side. This is where the circuit box will be. And I used plumbing parts to act as legs. And that little green cap right there is covering up some of the hardware for the leg system. So that brings it off the ground so I can access some holes underneath if I need to. And that's the main circuit breaker. It's actually not fused, it's more just like a switch. But there's fuses in that box right there. The one in the back. There's two 50 amp fuses. So it's getting there. And that's the meters. They're not hooked up yet. Those will probably they'll have to wait to be hooked up until I get the floor in. But one's a voltmeter and one's an amp meter. And then the switch at the bottom is to switch the voltage, because sometimes I'll be hooked up to 120 and sometimes I'll be hooked up to 240. So I have to be able to switch between the two. Just for the readout of the display, or the dial there. So it's getting there. And this is the inverter and the 12 volt line. And I got that kind of roughed in too. I don't want to step on anything. And you can see there's some conduit that carried the 12 volt line up into the inside. And this inverter will actually be pushed back farther because I've got this support here temporarily. You can still see daylight too.